Hi, I'm David Doud. I'm the Executive Director of the nonprofit CandidateVerification.org. We provide free background checks for all political candidates. I started candidate verification based upon my experience as a former political candidate. I ran twice for office, and both times I ran against an individual who had adverse public record information that was not properly disclosed to the voters. In the first campaign, I ran for the state legislature in 2004. I'm a local boy. I grew up here, my family's from here, I have a business background, I worked in Congress, I'd been preparing my entire career for this opportunity to run for office and serve the public. We both split the town half and half. It turns out, after I lost the primary by a few votes, his entire story was brought out to be a fraud by the Democrats in the Seattle Times. His personal business was a bankruptcy to the tune of $300,000, and all of his supporters were left holding the bag. I was really disappointed. It was a hard bit of news to swallow, but I stayed involved in the process. I'm a long-term player, and I was excited for the opportunity to continue to participate. And I did that. I was district chair in my area. I participated in many campaigns, and that opportunity arose for me in 2009 when I had the chance to run for the Port of Seattle. But again, I was running against an opponent who was very charismatic and really wooed the crowd wherever we went. My consultant asked me after we both moved on to the general election, "How's the campaign going?" I said, "Well, it's going really well, but I just can't seem to figure out who my opponent really is. Everywhere we go, he sounds a little different. He's got a different story for every group we talk to." And he says, "Well, have you done a background check?" I was like, "No, I haven't done any opposition research on my opponent. I don't know much about him." He says, "Well, I guess you should have learned the first time." We together uncovered through our research that indeed my opponent had a state tax lien for taking too much unemployment insurance. And we decided this would be very important information for the voters to hear about. It turns out I still lost the general election. The voters had already made up their minds. It was too late in the campaign. Endorsements had already been given. Money had been raised. It was after that campaign I was driving around in the dark of December in Seattle. It was pouring down rain. And it dawned on me, what are the odds of one American running for office twice and twice running into the phenomena where a basic background check really largely determined the outcome of the election? I reached out and approached a friend of mine who runs one of the largest employment screening companies in America and quickly learned that really resume falsification, resume inflation is not really a political problem. It really is a human nature issue. Over half of the resumes employers receive have falsifications on them, and that's why employers do background checks. It's a $2 billion a year industry. A little resolution on the Port of Seattle. My former opponent this year resigned in disgrace for performance issues. If background checks had been part of the process early on, I think a lot of those problems could have been avoided. I'm trying to bring the same transparency that employers use to address red flags in prospective employees to politicians so that you, the voter, can have that information when you make your decision to who to vote for.